Barangay budget process. There are several steps in the barangay budget process. A. Identify sources of revenue that will finance the budget. There are internal sources and external sources. B. Determine actual and estimated expenditure level. C. Budget preparation. D. Budget authorization. E. Budget review. F. Budget execution. And lastly, letter G. Budget accountability. Identify sources of revenue that will finance the budget. First is the internal revenue. There are 3 steps in identifying sources and internal sources. First, determine the actual income from taxes. Step 2. Determine actual income from operating and miscellaneous revenue. And lastly, estimate income from internal sources for the budget year. Next is the external sources. First step, determine income from external sources. Second step, project revenue from external sources. The basic assumption in estimating income from external sources is the current year's external sources of revenue is the same as the budget year's income. Determine actual and estimated expenditure level. So, first step, determine actual expenditure for basic services, development projects, SK, and calamity fund expenses for the past year. Step 2. Determine actual expenditure for basic services, development projects, SK, and calamity fund expenses for the current year. And lastly, estimate expenditure for basic services, development projects, SK, and calamity fund for the budget year. Budget preparation. What does the local code say? The preparation for the barangay budget is provided in Article 423 of the LGC, which states that upon receipt of the statement of income and expenditures from the barangay treasurer, the punong barangay shall prepare the barangay budget for ensuing fiscal year in the manner and within the period prescribed in this rule, and submit the annual barangay budget to the sangguniang barangay for enactment. The budget process starts with the preparation of the budget. Next step is authorization, followed by review, then execution, and lastly, accountability. Who prepares the budget? The punong barangay with the assistance of barangay treasurer and in consultation with the sangguniang barangay and barangay development council prepares the barangay budget, consisting of the following. Number 1. Estimate of income. Number 2. Total appropriations as proposed by the punong barangay. When is the budget prepared? The punong barangay shall prepare the barangay budget for the coming fiscal year upon receipt of the detailed statement of income and expenditures from the barangay treasurer on or before September 15 of each year. What are the contents of the barangay budget? The annual barangay budget document shall contain the following: budget message, local expenditures program or proposed general barangay appropriations bill, summary of income and expenditure, past year, current year, and budget year, and lastly, summary of actual and estimated. How is the barangay budget prepared? Step 1. Issue budget call for budget year. Budget call is the issued on the basis of approved AIP for the budget year and the submitted statements of income and expenditure. So the contents of budget calls are objectives and policy decision for the budget year, spending ceiling for basic services, development projects, SK fund, and calamity fund expected output and or targets for each basic services development projects. And lastly, budget calendar. In budget call, you should also indicate budget calendar. For example, Issuance of budget call, September 20. Preparation of budget proposal, September 25. Budget forum with barangay officials and stakeholders, September 26. Finalization of barangay expenditure program or appropriations bill, September 30. Preparation of budget message, October 10. Submission of executive budget to the Sangguniang Barangay, October 16. Prepare budget proposal. Allocate within spending ceiling for basic services, development projects, SK Fund, and Calamity Fund. Compute for free resources. If total estimate income is greater than expected expenditure for the budget year, the excess may be termed, in this case, as free resources. If less, then it is a deficit. Where may free resources be allocated? Computed free resources may be allocated for any of the following: high priority development projects in addition to the 20% of IRA, additional MOOE for the basic services, and additional honoraria for barangay officials. Step 3. Prepare budget message. The contents of the budget message are policy trust for the budget year, estimated income for the budget year, how income is allocated, and expected results to be accomplished. Step 4. Submit executive budget to the Sangguniang Barangay. Submit the executive budget or appropriations bill on or before October 16. Budget authorization. How the barangay budget is authorized. Step 1. Present the executive barangay budget to the Sangguniang Barangay. First, deliver the state of the barangay address or SOBA. Follow contents of budget message. And lastly, calendar and certify as urgent the proposed executive budget. Step 2. Deliberate on the executive budget. Step 3. Enact the General Appropriations Ordinance. Step 4. Approval of the GAO by the punong barangay. Budget review. Budget review has the following purposes. First, to ensure that the budgetary requirements and general limitations provided in the code are complied with. The budget does not exceed the estimated receipts and/or income of the barangays. And lastly, the items of the appropriations are not more than those provided by existing laws. How is budget review done? Step 1. Review within 60 days upon receipt. Step 2. Declare the barangay budget operative. Step 3. Declare the barangay budget inoperative in its entirety. Step 4. Declare the barangay budget inoperative in part. Step 5. Check consistency of GAO with AIP and ELA. And lastly, Step 6. Appeal for reconsideration in case of conflict in budget review. Budget execution. The punong barangay is responsible for the execution of barangay budget. He shall ensure the following: that the revenues as estimated are realized, that the approved development projects and basic services are implemented and delivered. How is the budget executed? Step 1. Prepare a simplified allotment release order, also known as SARO. Step 2. Prepare a cash program to support the SARO. Step 3. Prepare the quarterly performance targets. Step 4. Obligate and disburse funds. Step 5. Procure goods and civil works project. Budget accountability. How is the accountability of the budget done? Step 1. Record all collections from taxes, fees, charges, and contributions due or accruing to the barangay in the income books of account under the general fund. Step 2. Issue an official receipt for all taxes, fees, charges, and contribution collected. Step 3. Deposit all collections in the depository account maintained in the name of the barangay within 5 days after receipt. Step 4. Collect real property taxes and such other taxes as may be imposed by province, city, municipality that are due in the barangay only after being deputized for the purpose by concerned provincial, city, or municipal treasurer. Step 5. Record all obligation and disbursements in the expenditure books of accounts under the general fund. Step 6. Segregate all expenditure levels by sector. Step 7. Post in a conspicuous place in the barangay the income earned for the quarter and where it was spent. Step 8. Post in a conspicuous place the 3 barangay budget accountability forms number 1 to 3. Step 9. Monitor and evaluate performance. Monitor actual results of service delivery and implementation of development projects. Compare actual results with planned targets and provide corrective actions for negative deviations.